The door clicked shut behind him as dawn crept through the narrow street, pale and unforgiving. He stood there longer than necessary, hands still on the handle, heart thudding. Not from guilt, not yet, but from the lingering heat of night he had no intention of regretting. His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. The house was too quiet. Too quiet. No crying, he muttered to himself, slipping off his shoes. She probably took the baby to her mother's. He said it out loud as if sound could make it true. The living room smelled faintly of disinfectant and baby powder, a scent that had slowly replaced warmth over the past few months. He dropped his keys into the bowl by the door. The clink echoed. No footsteps. No voice calling his name. No tired complaint. No soft, desperate plea to help with the baby. He glanced at the clock. 5:41 a.m. She must be asleep, he whispered, already annoyed by the silence, by the way it pressed against his ears. He walked toward the nursery. The door was open. The crib was empty. For a moment, his brain refused to register what his eyes were seeing. He stepped closer, resting a hand on the railing, staring at the neatly folded blanket. The mobile above the crib hung still, dustless, untouched. No baby bag on the chair. No diapers. No formula. What the hell? His voice cracked. He turned, scanning the room. Everything was clean. Too clean. The kind of clean that didn't happen in a house with a newborn unless someone was leaving. His pulse spiked. He rushed back to the living room, heart pounding now, no longer able to hide behind excuses. On the dining table lay her phone, face down. Beside it, her wedding ring, and an envelope. His name was written on it, not angrily, not dramatically, just neatly, carefully, as if she'd taken her time. He stared at it, throat dry. "This isn't funny," he said to the empty room. "Stop this." Silence answered him. He grabbed the envelope, fingers trembling despite himself. For a split second, he considered not opening it. As long as it stayed sealed, the night could still be undone. As long as the word stayed hidden, he could pretend this was temporary, a misunderstanding, a dramatic gesture. But the truth was already there, sitting in the empty crib. He tore the envelope open. The letter was longer than he expected. He didn't read it right away. Instead, he sank into the dining chair, elbows on the table, staring at the wall opposite him. His mind drifted uninvited to the night before, to the way the city lights had blurred past the car windows, to the sound of laughter that wasn't his wife's, to the way someone had looked at him like he mattered. "You deserve this," she had said, tracing circles on his chest. "You give so much. When do you get to feel alive?" He had smiled then. He had believed it. Now, the smile felt like something rotten lodged in his chest. He unfolded the letter. "I'm not writing this to hurt you." It began. "If I wanted to hurt you, I would have screamed. I would have waited. I would have thrown everything in your face. But I don't have the strength for that anymore." His eyes skimmed ahead, then forced themselves back to the beginning. His breathing grew shallow. "I know about her. I've known for longer than you think. I waited because I kept hoping you'd choose us without being forced." He swallowed hard. "She doesn't know," he said aloud, as if the letter could hear him. "She doesn't know anything." But the letter continued, calm and devastating. "You stopped coming home on time long before you stopped sleeping in our bed. You stopped seeing me long before you touched someone else." His jaw clenched. He pushed the chair back abruptly, pacing the room. "That's not fair," he muttered. "I was working. I was exhausted. You changed." The words tasted weak even as he said them. He read on. "I was drowning here. Do you know what it feels like to beg someone with your eyes because you're too tired to use words? Do you know how lonely it is to sit beside your husband at 2 a.m., holding his child, while he scrolls his phone like none of it belongs to him?" He shut his eyes. A memory surfaced. Her sitting on the couch, hair tied messily, dark circles under her eyes, the baby crying softly against her chest. "Can you take him?" she had asked. "Just a minute," he'd replied, eyes still on the screen. "I've had a long day." She had nodded, always nodding, always understanding. He pressed his fingers into his temples. This isn't the whole story, he whispered. You're leaving things out. The letter didn't argue. I stopped asking because every no felt like rejection. I stopped crying because tears didn't move you anymore. I stopped believing because belief without action is just self-deception. His chest tightened. He looked around the house. The couch where he'd slept more nights than he admitted. The kitchen where she'd learned to cook one-handed while holding a baby. The walls that still bore framed photos of a happier time. I didn't leave in anger, the letter continued. I left in clarity. Something inside him snapped. Clarity, he scoffed loudly. You think this is clarity? Taking my child? Disappearing? He read faster now, panic setting in. I packed while you were gone. I took only what belonged to me and what belonged to our child. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want explanations. I didn't want promises I've already heard. Promises? He remembered standing in the hospital room months earlier, holding her hand as machines beeped softly. I'll do better, he'd said. I swear, I'll be here. She had smiled weakly. I just need you. And for a while, he had been, until life returned, until the weight fell heavy, until escape seemed easier than effort. His phone buzzed again. He finally pulled it out. A message from her. You didn't answer last night. It read, Everything okay? He stared at the screen, nausea rising. Everything okay, he repeated bitterly. He dropped the phone onto the table, like it burned. The letter continued. I'm not asking you to look for us. I'm not asking you to fight. If you do, let it be because you want to be a father, not because you don't want to lose. His hands were shaking now. You don't get to decide that alone, he said. You don't get to take him away and call it peace. He turned the page. I've already spoken to a lawyer. The paperwork will reach you soon. I didn't do this to punish you. I did this to survive. The room felt smaller. The walls seemed to lean inward. Lawyer? His voice was barely audible. He stumbled to the nursery again, standing in the doorway as if the baby might reappear if he waited long enough. This isn't real, he whispered. This is just a scare. She'll come back. But deep down, something colder spoke. She won't. A flashback hit him uninvited. Her standing by the window weeks earlier, staring outside as the baby slept. You okay? He'd asked. Yes, she said too quickly. He hadn't pressed. Now the weight of every unasked question crashed down on him. He returned to the letter, dread settling in his bones. I hope one day you understand that love doesn't die in one night. It dies in 1,000 small moments when someone chooses themselves over their family. He sank back into the chair, head in his hands. I didn't choose myself, he whispered. I chose relief. But relief, it turned out, was expensive. Outside, the sun rose fully now, light flooding the house she had emptied. And for the first time since the baby was born, the house was silent. Not peaceful. Empty. The silence didn't lift. It pressed harder as minutes passed, as if the house itself was waiting for him to understand something he was still refusing to accept. He stood abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. No, he said, louder now, forcing conviction into his voice. I'm not doing this alone. He grabbed his phone and dialed her number. It rang. Once. Twice. Straight to voicemail. Hey, he said after the beep, trying to sound calm, reasonable. I'm home. I don't know what this is, but we need to talk. You can't just take him and disappear. Call me back. He ended the call and immediately dialed again. Voicemail. Stop this. He snapped the third time, frustration bleeding through. This isn't fair. We're married. You don't get to decide everything on your own. He dropped the phone onto the couch and ran a hand through his hair. His chest felt tight, like the air had thickened. He walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and froze. It was nearly empty. No bottles. No prepared meals. No breast milk stored in labeled bags the way she used to do obsessively. Just a carton of milk, a half-used jar of mustard, and a note stuck to the fridge with a magnet. I cleaned it out. I didn't want things to spoil. That was it. No signature. No heart. Just practicality. He laughed once, sharp and humorless. You always were thorough, he muttered. He sank against the counter, sliding down until he was sitting on the floor. His mind raced, trying to reorganize reality into something manageable. She's emotional. She's tired. This is postpartum stuff. She'll calm down. He clung to the thought desperately. He grabbed his phone again and scrolled through their old messages. The shift was obvious now, glaring in hindsight. Her replies had grown shorter. Less emojis, less affection, more logistics. Did you pick up diapers? He hasn't slept. I'll handle it. He had liked those messages. They made him feel unburdened. Now they felt like warnings he had ignored. He called his mother. She answered on the second ring. You're up early. She took the baby, he said immediately, words tumbling out. She left. I came home and they're gone. Did she call you? Did she say anything to you? There was a pause on the other end. Too long. She's safe, his mother said finally. His heart dropped. You knew. She called last night. Last night? His voice rose. He stopped himself. What did she say? That she needed space, his mother replied carefully. That she's been struggling for a long time. And you didn't think to call me? Anger flared hot and sudden. You didn't think I should know my wife was leaving with my son? You were unreachable, his mother said quietly. The word landed like a slap. Unreachable, he repeated. That's ridiculous. I had my phone. Did you answer? She asked. Silence stretched between them. You always told me to be patient with her, he said, trying a different angle. You said childbirth changes things, that she'd come around. I told you to show up, his mother corrected. There's a difference. He clenched his jaw. Where are they? She didn't tell me exactly, she said. And even if she had, I wouldn't give it to you. His grip tightened on the phone. She has no right. She has every right, his mother interrupted, her voice firmer now. She's been raising that child alone while you convinced yourself you were doing enough. That's not true, he snapped. I provide. I work. You disappear, his mother said softly. And you always have. The words hurt because they weren't new. I want to see my son, he said, voice cracking despite himself. You will, she replied, but not today, and not like this. The line went dead. He stared at the phone in disbelief, then hurled it onto the couch. It bounced once and landed face down. This is insane, he said to the empty room. You're all acting like I'm some kind of monster. He stood and paced, adrenaline coursing through him. His mind jumped to her parents. They lived 2 hours away. She was close to her mother. He grabbed his keys and headed for the door, then stopped. What if she's not there? What if she planned this better than I think? The letter's words echoed in his head. I prepared. A cold realization crept in. She hadn't acted on impulse. He drove anyway. The road blurred past as he replayed moments he dismissed at the time. Her quiet questions, her tired eyes, the way she flinched when he touched her unexpectedly. You don't see me anymore, she said once, late at night. He had sighed. Can we not do this now? I'm exhausted. So was she, but she didn't get to clock out. His phone buzzed at a red light. A message from the woman he'd spent the night with. Are you coming back later? I miss you already. He stared at the screen, fingers hovering. A wave of anger surged up, not at her, but at himself. He typed back, I can't talk right now. 3 dots appeared immediately. What happened? He didn't answer. He pulled into her parents' driveway an hour later, heart pounding as he got out of the car. He knocked hard, impatience overriding caution. Her father opened the door. The man looked older than he remembered. Tired. Where is she? He demanded. Her father didn't move aside. She's resting. I want to see my son. Her father's eyes hardened. You should have wanted that weeks ago. That's not fair, he shot back. You don't know what's been going on. I know exactly what's been going on, her father said. She's been calling her mother in tears while feeding her child at 3 a.m. He tried to push past, but her father blocked him. You're not welcome here like this, the older man said firmly. I'm his father, he insisted. You can't keep him from me. We're not, her father replied. We're protecting them. Her mother appeared behind him then, holding the baby. The sight hit him like a punch to the chest. "There he is," he whispered. "Hey, buddy." The baby stirred, eyes fluttering open, then began to fuss. Instinctively, he stepped forward. "I'll take him." Her mother turned slightly away. "He's hungry." "I can feed him," he said quickly. "I know how." She looked at him. Sadness etched deep into her face. "Do you?" He opened his mouth, then closed it. "Where is she?" he asked again, softer now. "She doesn't want to see you," her mother said. "Not yet." "I need to explain," he pleaded. "She doesn't understand." "She understands more than you think," her mother interrupted gently. "She understands what it feels like to be alone in a marriage." The baby began to cry in earnest now, small fists clenching. "Please," he said, voice breaking. "I just want to hold him." Her mother hesitated, then shook her head. "Not today." Something inside him collapsed. "So that's it?" he asked. "I come home and my family is just gone?" "You left first," her father said quietly. The words followed him back to the car, echoing louder than the slam of the door. He sat behind the wheel, staring at the house where his wife and child were just a few walls away, and yet unreachable. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel, breathing hard. "I'll fix this," he whispered to himself. "I'll do whatever it takes." But even as he said it, he wasn't sure if he meant it, or if he just couldn't stand losing. He didn't drive home right away. He sat there for a long time, engine off, hands resting uselessly on his thighs, watching the front door, as if she might suddenly appear and change her mind. Each time the curtain shifted, his heart jumped. Each time, nothing happened. Eventually, the house went still again. He started the car and drove without thinking, letting muscle memory take over. By the time he realized where he was headed, he was already pulling into the parking lot of his office building. The place was nearly empty at that hour, fluorescent lights humming coldly inside. Work had always been his refuge, the one place where effort translated directly into results. You stayed late, you got rewarded. You solved problems, you were praised. No guessing, no emotional landmines. He went up to his office, dropped into his chair, and stared at the city waking up through the glass windows. "This can be fixed," he said aloud. "Everything can be fixed." He opened his laptop and typed her name into his email search bar. Hundreds of messages came up. Logistics, appointments, grocery lists, pediatrician reminders. He scrolled back years to when the emails were lighter. "I miss you already. Can't wait to see you tonight. Did I tell you today how much I love you?" His throat tightened. At some point, his assistant knocked softly. "You're early. Cancel my meetings," he said without looking up. She hesitated. "All of them?" "Yes." When she left, he opened a new email. He stared at the blank screen for several minutes before typing. "I'm sorry." He deleted it. That night didn't mean anything. Deleted. "I made a mistake." Deleted. Nothing sounded big enough or honest enough. He tried again. "I know I failed you. I know words aren't enough, but I'm willing to do the work. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. Please let me see my son." He read it over and over, then sent it before he could overthink it. The reply came faster than he expected. Not from her, from a law firm. His chest tightened as he opened it. "Dear Mr. We represent your wife in matters relating to separation and custody." The words blurred together. Temporary custody. Supervised visitation. Mediation scheduled. Financial disclosures required. "This can't be happening," he whispered. His phone rang immediately after. His friend Mark. "Man, I heard. Mark said, your mother called my wife. What the hell did you do?" He bristled. "Why does everyone assume I did something?" "Because people don't leave like that unless they're done," Mark replied. "What happened?" He hesitated, then said, "I messed up that bad." He closed his eyes. "I cheated." There was silence on the line. "With who?" Mark finally asked. He gave the name. Mark exhaled sharply. "You're kidding." "What?" That's not a fling," Mark said. "That's you burning your house down." "I didn't mean for it to. No one ever does. Mark cut in. Listen to me. If you want any chance here, you stop lying to yourself first. I'm not lying, he snapped. I love my wife. Then why wasn't she enough? Mark asked quietly. The question sat heavy between them. He hung up shortly after, anger and shame tangling together. That evening he went home. The house felt different now. Not just empty, but exposed, as if every wall had been stripped of its purpose. He opened the closet. Her side was bare. Hangers lined up neatly, all facing the same direction. She hadn't rushed. She'd been methodical. In the bathroom, her toothbrush was gone, her skincare products, even the hand soap she liked. He sank onto the bed, staring at the indent where she used to sleep. I didn't know, he said to no one. If I had known it was this bad. His phone buzzed again. A message from her. Not an email. A text. I got your message. Please don't contact me directly again. It makes this harder. His chest tightened. He typed back immediately. I need to talk to you. At least tell me when I can see him. The dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. You'll hear from the mediator. I'm not keeping him from you. I'm keeping myself sane. Is this about her? He asked. Because if it is, I ended it. A long pause followed. Everything is about her, she finally replied, but not the way you think. What does that mean? He demanded. It means I begged you to see me long before you touched someone else, she wrote. And you didn't. He stared at the screen, helpless. I can change, he typed. I swear. That's what you said after the baby was born, she replied. That's what you said when I cried in the bathroom. That's what you said when you stopped coming home. He slammed the phone down onto the bed, frustration boiling over. So, what do you want from me? He shouted at the empty room. Blood. Days passed in a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and sleepless nights. He met with his lawyer, a calm woman who spoke in measured tones. Right now, she said, you need to focus on stability. No outbursts. No impulsive actions. She took my child, he argued. She protected herself. The lawyer corrected. Judges respond well to consistency. You need to show that. How? He asked. She gave him a look that was almost sympathetic. By doing the things you should have been doing all along. Supervised visitation began the following week. He sat in a small, brightly colored room with toys lining the shelves, his son in his arms, while a social worker observed quietly from a corner. The baby didn't recognize him at first. That hurt more than anything else so far. Hey, he whispered, trying to sound cheerful. It's Daddy. The baby stared at him, then began to cry. Panic surged. I've got him, he said quickly, rocking awkwardly. I've got you. The crying intensified. The social worker intervened gently, showing him how to hold the baby properly, how to support his head. Like this, she said. He followed her instructions, shame burning hot in his chest. Eventually, the baby calmed, fingers curling around his shirt. Tears welled up in his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have been here. When the hour was over, handing his son back felt like tearing something out of himself. He walked out into the parking lot and sat in his car, shaking. That night, the mistress called. He almost didn't answer. Almost. What's going on? She asked immediately. You've been distant. You won't see me. Did something happen? He laughed bitterly. Everything happened. He told her. All of it. The letter. The baby. The lawyer. There was silence on the line. You never said you were unhappy like that, she said finally. I was, he replied. I just didn't want to fix it. That's not fair, she said. You made me think. I know, he cut in. That's on me? So what are we now? She asked. He thought of the empty crib, the supervised room, the way his son had cried in his arms. We're done, he said quietly. She exhaled sharply. Just like that? Yes. He hung up before she could respond. That night, he slept on the nursery floor, not because it made anything better, but because it felt closer to the truth. And for the first time since dawn, he stopped telling
himself he was the victim.
The nights became the hardest part. Daytime gave him structure, lawyers, emails, scheduled visits, things that demanded action. Night stripped everything away. The house grew louder in its emptiness. Every creak and hum a reminder that there should have been a baby monitor crackling softly, a tired voice calling his name, a reason to stay awake that wasn't regret. He lay on the nursery floor again, staring at the ceiling, the mobile casting faint shadows that move with the air. He imagined her standing there months ago, rocking their son, whispering things he'd never heard. "You're safe," she used a murmur. "Mama's got you." He wondered if she ever said his name to the baby. Probably not. Why would she? The next mediation session came faster than he was ready for. He sat across from her for the first time since that morning. She looked thinner, calmer, different in a way that frightened him. She didn't meet his eyes. "Let's keep this focused," the mediator said gently. He leaned forward. "I just want to talk to her." She shook her head. "That's not what this is for." The finality in her voice stunned him more than anger ever could have. "I'm not trying to fight you," he said, desperation leaking through. "I just want my family back." She finally looked at him then, eyes steady, almost sad. "You want the version of us that existed before you stopped choosing us." "That's not fair," he said weakly. "I'm choosing now." "You're choosing because you lost," she replied. "That's different." The words sliced clean and precise. "I loved you," he said, voice breaking. "I still do." "I know," she said quietly. "But love without presence is just a memory." He opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. For the first time, he heard the truth in what she was saying, not as an accusation, but as a fact. They discussed logistics, days, times, boundaries. When it was over, she stood to leave. "Wait," he said, standing abruptly. "Please, just tell me, was there a moment? One moment when you decided it was over?" She paused, hand on the door. "Yes," she said without turning around. "The night you didn't come home, and our son had a fever." His stomach dropped. "I called you," she continued, 3 times. I wasn't even angry. I was scared." He remembered the buzzing phone on the nightstand, the way he'd flipped it face down. "I sat on the bathroom floor with him," she said, voice steady but tight. "And I realized I couldn't rely on you anymore. That was the moment." She left before he could respond. He didn't move for a long time after that. Weeks passed. He showed up, every visit, every class the court recommended, parenting courses, therapy sessions. He learned how to soothe, how to listen, how to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. It didn't bring her back. But slowly, his son stopped crying when he held him. Slowly, those tiny fingers reached for him willingly. That mattered, even if it wasn't enough. One evening, after a supervised visit, he buckled his son into the car seat and paused, hand resting on the door. He leaned in and whispered, "I should have been better sooner." The baby gurgled in response, unaware of the weight those words carried. Later that night, he received one last message from her. "I see the effort you're making. I appreciate it. But this is where my path goes on, without you beside me. I hope one day you understand that leaving was the bravest thing I ever did." He didn't reply, not because he didn't have words, but because he finally understood that some apologies come too late to change the outcome. Months later, dawn came again. He woke before the alarm, sunlight spilling across the same living room, where everything had ended. He sat up slowly, listening. The house was quiet. Not the sharp, panicked silence of that first morning, but a settled one, permanent. He stood, made coffee, and looked out the window as the city stirred awake. This time, he didn't lie to himself. He hadn't lost everything in one night. He had lost it piece by piece. Every time he chose absence over presence, relief over responsibility, escape over effort. Dawn hadn't taken his family. It had only shown him the truth. And the truth was something he would live with for the rest of his life. The lesson in his story was never about betrayal alone. Affairs are loud, easy to blame, easy to condemn. But what destroyed his family wasn't a single night. It was years of quiet neglect disguised as responsibility. Love doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes slowly when presence is postponed, when later becomes a habit, when comfort is chosen over commitment. By the time consequences arrive, they feel sudden only because the warning signs were ignored. The wife didn't leave because she stopped loving him. She left because love without partnership becomes self-abandonment. Staying would have meant teaching her child that loneliness is normal inside a marriage, and she refused to pass that lesson on. The moral is simple, but unforgiving. People don't leave when they stop loving you. They leave when they stop feeling chosen. Regret is loud at dawn, but effort is required at midnight. When no one is watching, when excuses are tempting, when love asks for presence instead of promises. And by the time he understood that truth, the silence he feared most had already become permanent.